did he create man the way that he did? That's another easy question. Why did he create a woman the way that he did? Why did he create a woman out of Adam and not separately? All easy questions. So let's answer these questions, then we can carry on. There is no answer to this. There is no answer to this. So in order to try to answer this, we have to go study and see a couple of things. When did God exist? When did God exist? Well, it's an irrelevant question, because when you ask the question, when did God exist, it means to exist means there needs to be a purpose, isn't it? So to ask the question, why does God exist, and when did he exist, and how did he come to existence, it's all irrelevant questions, because that would put God into a place where he needed to have a purpose to exist. So this is our human mentality to understand it, but we cannot understand it. God is just God. He doesn't need a purpose to exist. He never had to have a purpose to exist, and he doesn't have to have a reason or explanation for the things that he does. Why? Because he is God. So if I ask the question, why did he make man? Because he's God, he wanted to. If he didn't want man or woman, he wouldn't have created them. So should there be a purpose then for this? You see, now we're getting to the difficult questions. So let's start with existing. I am. And he said, thus you shall say to the children of Israel, I am has sent me to you. What we find here is that the Hebrew text reads, a year, asher, a year, a year. The word a year begins derived from a root word called haya, which means to be, to exist. So God just existed. Was there a reason for his existence? No, he just existed. But the Aramaic text in verse 14 reads, Ayah, Ashar Ayah. So this is not his name, but it is an explanation that would lead up to his name, Yud Hay, Vav Hay. So what we can see, the first time that he speaks to Moses, now, did God speak to Abraham? Yes. Do you think Moses knew about God? So why did he say, who shall I say spoke to me? Well, God spoke to him. That wasn't the point, is that God had to reveal himself for the first time in the history to humanity in a certain way. We never thought about it. Why was Israel for 400 years in Egypt suffering? Did they commit sin for that? So why were they in bondage? Were they idolaters? Did they break the Torah? So why did they go through those hard times that they go through? Well, there is no answer to this, because this was God's plan. This is God's purpose. So certain things we have to know, it's like existence. It is there because it is there. And God made them as slaves in Egypt. Why? Well, some things would allude that they were involved in idolatry. They were involved in idolatry, but remember, before they even did that, he told that to Abraham, that they are going to be in Egypt. So these are certain things that God did, and it will just exist, and that's how it would. So God existed, and he alluded that to Moses and saying, I'm a God that existed, and I will exist, and I will ever exist, and I did exist. I'm just existence. So that means that God was everywhere. And I explained this, I will explain it differently than in a previous teaching. So God existed everywhere. So what can now exist? If God exists everywhere, what can exist? Nothing. Because God exists everywhere. So what we find is that Yahweh exists everywhere. So for anything, the creation, to exist, he needed to give up some of his existence. His glory, his existence. So, and we'll come to the existence part, because I have to lay the foundation to see that some of these things are inherently been programmed into a woman's DNA, if we can say that. So God gave up some of his existence, and I'll say why existence. Because something that exists needs to take up space. Amen. Do you exist? And you take space. So if you take up space, can somebody else take up that space that you create, that you are occupying now? So this chair takes up the space. Can something else take up the space of this chair? Well, you have to remove it and then put it in there. So nothing else can exist in that space that that chair is situated in. And this is the existence. Existence is you take up space. But what about abstract things? A thought. Let's look at even a thought. Does that take up space? How does it take up space? You can't see it. It's not physical. Well, if there is a thought in your mind, is there place for another thought? There is not. You cannot think on two thoughts at the same time. So while there is one thought in your mind, is there place for another thought? So even an abstract thing like a thought, it takes up space. So what we find is that Adam in the beginning, when God said, let us create man, he created Adam. So one complete image of God existed. So God said, okay, I will make space for something else to exist. But you know what? I will fill that space with something that looks like me. So what we find is Adam was a creature that just takes up more space. God made him in his image, and it would take up the space that God has voluntarily given up. And then we find that God says, okay, I'm going to make Eve. And out of Eve, there is now even more space being taken. Is that true? More space being taken. So we say one then becomes, come on, you have to help me here. One becomes then two. Is that right or not?
That's why Eve was taken out of Adam.
Okay, so the one actually does not become two. The one becomes two halves. So when God created Adam, Adam took up some space. But then he took something from Adam, which that portion of Adam, remember, because even if thought is an abstract, so if the spiritual realm is also abstract, then it's taking up space. So something in Adam took up space. And when God removed it and made something else with it and put it in space somewhere else, it still took the same space. So Adam and Eve did not become two. They became two halves. And together, the one will be incomplete, the other will be incomplete, but together they will be one complete image. And then what we will say is they came into existence. So now we have to ask the question. God says when man and wife comes together, they become, but Adam was one. So he made them two, and now he wants to make them, or two halves, and now he needs to make them one again. But why did you just keep Adam the way that he did? Because he was complete. He was one with himself. Why did he have to take something and then that something to say, well, come back and become one again? Somehow we need to understand this, because why is it that God says, well, I'm going to take something that's complete and make it incomplete so that when they come together, they complete again? Because everything that's in a woman was in Adam. So if God kept everything that was in a woman in Adam, he would have been one completed man. Imagine that. So God said, well, there needs to be somehow a man and a woman, that there is a longing within them for something else. So while Adam is existing and takes up space, he feels that he is incomplete because there is a certain space that he cannot fill. So in front of the image of God, he stands in front of the image of God, but there is a space here that is incomplete. So God says, well, it's actually for Eve, it's for your wife, it's for the woman to come in here, and when you are together, then you are one. Then you are echad. So basically, what we find is that Adam and Eve then, when they were made to exist. And I wrote this, the existence of existence. Because if you go onto the internet, is it spelled with an E or an A? There's a big debate. So we'll just speak a little bit now about the existence of existence. And then we'll use the E and the A in the spelling. What does it mean to exist? Give me a definition for existence. Because now Adam exists and Eve exists. What does it mean to exist? Okay, you take up space. But how do you take up space? You've got a body, so the body takes up space. And you have to keep this body in place. So how do you keep it in place? Well, you have to eat. Because if you don't eat, your body is going to die. And if you die, you don't exist anymore. Amen? So existence is taking care of the reality around me. Existence is actually to make sure that I take up space. That's existence. How many people take up existence? All of us. We exist. Why? Because we take up space. So what is our existence? Our existence is to eat and to sleep and to go to work and to do all that we need to do in order to... No, it's actually to take up space. Because at this point in time, you serve God, yes or no. So the question I asked Hubert, can you exist and live? Or can you exist without living? Or can you live without existing? You can only live when the Spirit is within you. Okay, so let's ask the question. Are there people that exist in this life without living? So it means that they just go on with their daily lives but they don't live. Okay, so give me the definition. What is life then? If existence is to focus around me to take up space, what is life then? Because existence focuses on who? On me. But life, what does it focuses on? Focuses on not me. So therefore, life is when I look at existence and I say, well, you know, I'll push existence apart, and now I'm going to start living. I'm going to focus on somebody else. Now, this concept and these teachings I found on a teaching of Rabbi Friedman. And he started his lecture in such a way, it was quite funny. He says, well, you know, when I exist, I take up this space. I take up space. But when you came into this synagogue, you took up some of my space. Because remember, when I was here alone, it was me and me alone. But now you come into the synagogue and you start taking up some of my space. Now it's not me alone. And he says, therefore I hate you for that. Because you've just ruined my existence. You have ruined my existence. Because without you, I existed. Or I can say, well, who wants to talk to an empty building? So I would have existed, but it's not a good life. Because life is when I am here, but I am making a difference. In whom? In my own life. Somebody else's life. So existence coupled to life. So in order to create life or to have life means is that you have to give some of your existence up. And this is where Adam comes. Adam was complete, and then God took some of his space, his existence, and he made Eve. So therefore, Adam, for the first time, were able to say, well, I created life. I'm not just existing, I am living because I created life. And that's the difference between existence and life. So life doesn't focus on me, life focuses on who? It focuses on where am I needed. Because this is where I want to make a difference. Where am I needed? That is life. Okay. I'm coming to it. I'm coming to why this is important. How many of us are existing today? All of us. We are working. We are focusing on our existence. How many of our existence stays the same? Whose existence has been ruined this year by any circumstances? Come on. None. My existence changed this year when certain things changed. I got less salary, I got this, I got this. My existence was either better or ruined. Existence is not constant. It's a cycle. Then it's good and then it's bad. So existence is not something that, oh, this year I'm having it tough and God has punished me. No, that's part it takes to exist. So the Hebrew language, the root words, we'll find that there is a Hebrew word, but that Hebrew word has got a root. And we can discuss that and give more examples afterwards. So there are a bilateral and a trilateral root word. So it means either 2 or 3 letters that you would find in a word. So those 3 letters you will find in all the other words, and it will give it this meaning. I'll explain quickly. When he said I am, it's a verb. He says, it's an aleph, ye. That's I am. That's a 4-letter. But the root word for ye is haya. That's the root 3 letters for I am. And that is also a verb, and it means come. It means come. What does it mean? Well, the way to study a 3-letter root word is this. You've got 3 letters. The first letter always points to the essence of the object. The second one is what is happening to that object. And number 3 is how is this being then expressed. And if you can decipher that, you can actually see what is the meaning of any word if you find this root letters in Hebrew. So let's just look at the essence. The essence of this Haya. Now, Hay, we know in Paleo-Hebrew, is a man with raised arms, and it says it's to look, to reveal, to breathe. So what is the essence of the letter Hay? What is the essence of the letter Hay? Not the function. What is the essence of it? Well, the Hay, let's look at it. It says look. So it means it's something that you can see now. But before you could see it, where was it? You couldn't see it. Reveal. It's something that came into revelation. And breath means, what does it mean? Breath means life. So the Hay, the essence of a Hay object, when it says behold, it says behold, something came to an existence. It started taking up space. So the first letter of Haya, which is come, says it is something that has been revealed, that you see, that you can experience, that has got life. That is what the first letter Hay presents. I'm just going to do the first letter. I'm not doing all the letters. So the first letter Hay. That's the essence of it. Okay, now let's explain it quickly. In the beginning, Adam. Now Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It is also the number 1, and it's got the picture, the hieroglyphics of an ox, which the meaning is that it's an ox, it's strong, it's a leader. So what is the essence then of an Aleph? It's the first, it's the strongest, it is the leader, it is in the beginning. There is only one. Is there 2? No, there's 1. So Aleph is 1, and that's why God is always represented with the Aleph. Now, when he says, I'm the Alpha and the Omega, and if you translate into the Hebrew, he says, Aleph and Tav, I am the beginning and the end. So he is quoting the essence, I am the beginning. Now, if God is the beginning of everything, then we look at the word Adam. Where is the Aleph represented? The first letter. Why the first letter? Because he's the beginning of Adam. Earth. Adamah. Where's the Aleph? It's the first letter. Okay? So, and who gives life? God. So he gave life to earth. So the essence of the Aleph is also in earth. Let's look at another word like father. Abba. Why is Abba father? Why is the Aleph there first? Because God. So A father in a house without God cannot be a father. It cannot be written with an aleph. He cannot be a father. So according to Hebrew definition, a father is one that starts first with God. The bet is a house. So it's God's house first. That's a father. Can you see it in the Hebrew? It's in the essence. Eve in Hebrew, what is that called? Chava. So Eve in Hebrew is Chava. So let's look at then the essence of Chava. That which you cannot explain is within you. It's there deep down, you cannot explain it in you. It's Chava. So the first letter is a Chet. The number of Chet is 8, and 8 represents. Okay, let's give the essence to it, new beginnings. Life comes through Adam. Can you see? So the Chet, Chava, starts with a Chet. So the number 8. So the essence of Eve is there is new life that comes from her. So God has taken from Adam the Chet portion, the life portion, and He's put it into Eve. And He's given Eve the essence to be the life, to give the life. And therefore, her whole personality will revolve around existence. Bringing forth. Okay, so let's look at the curse quickly. God comes and He curses Adam. What does He curse in Adam? Because remember, in Adam, the portion of life has been given to Eve. So without Eve, he does not have a life. Imagine, this rabbi said, imagine you propose in this way to your wife. Says, Antoinette, will you marry me? I cannot live without you. Is that good or not good? Okay. Do I speaking the truth or am I lying? I'm lying. I'm lying. Why? Because how many men have you seen that they've said that to their woman and then there's a divorce and so on, and he finds another wife and he goes on, booms. Is he lying or speaking the truth? He's lying. So to propose to your wife, you have to be actually more truthful. Saying, Antoinette, will you be my wife? I'm able to exist without you. You'll speak the truth, but you won't get married. For sure not. But what if I went to Antoinette and I said to Antoinette, will you be my wife? I can exist without you, but that won't be a life. Because that is the truth. That I can exist without her. But my existence without her is no life. Now remember, man is focused on existence. So when you come into my life, what do? You take up some of my space. You take up some of my existence. And therefore you hear a man that after 1 year they say, I feel a bit cramped in this house, please, can I move? You know. Why? Because I feel cramped. Because just taken up some of my existence. So when you do the vows at the pulpit, they should actually ask a wife, or they should say to a man, or the man should say to a wife, from all over the world, and from all the people in the world, and from all the options I have specifically only chosen you to ruin my existence. to take my space and ruin my existence. Because in a man's mind, this is exactly it. And that's why certain men are happy. But remember, you are happy because you had a portion of life in your life. That I'm quite pedantic when it comes to certain things. I put it here, it needs to be there. Because, it takes me 3 months to get used to that it's been there. Then I come one morning into the kitchen and I go, it's not here. Because my existence changed. I said, why did you change it? Now I thought it was a good idea. It's not a good idea because now I do not know where to find it. I go through all the cupboards and so on. But for my other existence, half, it's life to change. Life has changed. Without change, there is no life. So obviously, I leave all the nails and screws in the walls when I move things because I'm going to move it 3 months later. I'm going to move it back. And then move it there again. And then move it back. So I leave all the holes in the wall. But that's a wife to have this change. Gives life. But a man does not really accept this because we've got an existence. This is how it needs to be. This is my plan. So when the curse comes, God ruins what? Not ruins, makes it more difficult for Adam. His existence. The ground will be cursed. You will work very hard to make a living, an existence, to exist. Now, is existence inherently now in Eve? No, because it's given to the man. He's the breadwinner. He's the one that should exist. Eve is life. So God then curses not Eve, but the way that she will bring forth life. That will also be with difficulty. But now, the worst part is that Eve, your life will be subjected now to man's existence. That's why he says man shall rule over you. So the one cannot now go without the other. So if we find is that in the essence of the curse, existence is made more difficult for man because that's Adam. But because life is inherently in Chet with the wife or with Eve, the bringing forth of children is made more difficult. Now Chet is the representation of a tent wall, a fence, and a separation. Okay, so let's look at the essence then of Chet. What does a tent wall do? Okay, it talks about separation later, but what does a tent wall do? Think about it. A tent wall becomes a house. It becomes a protection from the outside. It becomes a protection from the inside. So you can see that in Chet, inherently, there is the tent wall as the foundation of the home. That it is about, the tent wall is about the separation. It's about the protection of creating life inside a tent. Is the one that will be basically almost the wall. What can you build a house without walls? Now, if she is the wall, then it means she's somehow the foundation of this house. You can have 4 walls, but there's a middle wall, and this whole roof almost leans on this middle wall. So you can still have your 4 walls, but you knock out the middle wall. What will happen with this roof? It will start sagging. So she becomes a foundation the tent wall, or this wall, becomes the foundation of this home. She is a fence. And we'll see where this fence comes in, because this is what Sarah and Rebecca did, which we'll read. She is a fence. So she's the one that will say, Raymond, you need to speak to the children, blah, 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 blah. And I have to do it because she wants to protect them. She's the one that, they're not back yet, they haven't phoned yet. Well, we must drive to the school and go look. And why? Because she's the fence. She's the one that protects. She looks at the house. Remember, this is all inherently with life. She's building, she's fencing life, and then she's doing a separation of life. What is this separation talk about? God separated in the beginning. He separated what? So separation inherently in the wife is life against death. So she wants to preserve life. So everything that comes into her environment, she will assess and she'll say life or death, and she will immediately do the separation to create and sustain and to guard life. That is what the purpose is of Chava. Now let's look at certain words. What does that word spell? And that's why I said in the beginning. What is that? Chai. The word chai starts with a chet. There's some other words that starts with a chaf, of a chet. Chob means bosom. Now, in this case, bosom means it's a place where it's a place of protection. So where is the child being born or protected? No wife, no bosom. Where's the bosom? Isn't it here? It's been protected, even not just physically, but in prayer, in our hearts. She's always there. It's the Chaba is hidden. Chabab is cherish. Chab is debt, guilt, legal binding. Oh, sorry. You have to get the negative side as well. Because if you are alive, then you can also be responsible for the death. So Eve was responsible for the guilt. Because she was supposed to be the separation. She was supposed to be the fence. She's supposed to be the wall. So that function fell away, and therefore she became the chab, the chabal, which is the rope, the cable, bind with a pledge. Chabak, embrace. Chabar, unite, join, friend. Chabash, bind, bandage. So why didn't God decide to rather call Eve Abab or Ava? Or because if it's Adam, then let's say that God is also the origin of Eve, and therefore you will call her Ava and not Chava, because it's not her nature. God has put, man needs to work very hard to connect to God. The woman has just got this inherently somewhere inside her. You know this voice? You know this voice that the woman has got? It's naturally, it's there. It's a connection. Man has to work much harder to connect to God than a woman. Why? Because, and that's why it's not an aleph, it's a ch. It's chai. Lechaim is to life. So what is a marriage between two men? What is a marriage between two women? So even according to Hebrew, it cannot work. Because the one cannot fulfill the space of the other. It is unnatural. It cannot. Two men cannot bring life. Two women cannot bring life. You need a man and you need a woman to bring life. The one is to exist and to create an existence, but also his wife is there to give life to his existence. So let's look at then Rebekah. Let's look at Genesis 24. We're going to look at 4 aspects of Rebekah. God says, I'm going to create you a helper. Rebekah, where was she Isaac's helper? Think about now, not just Genesis 24, but where was she the helper? So with the servant, she was a helper. She was a help in a house. You can see that she was a help in a house, but where was she also a helper? Comes with Jacob and Esau. Okay, we'll put all that together now. She is the home, she's the comforter. Because remember, if life is within her, there was a woman in Isaac's life that was taken away from her, and he got very depressed, and he needed comfort because life departed from her. Is his mother, Sarah. And immediately Sarah came into him, and then he was comforted. So she gave him Rebekah. Rebekah came in with Isaac, and she comforted him from Sarah's death, from his mother's death, and she gave him back his life. Can you see? She was also the protector of the seed. How was she the protector of the seed? Let's go back to Sarah quickly. How was Sarah the protector of the seed? She said to Abraham, Ishmael and Isaac, they need to part their ways. Abraham said, no ways. But inherently, because she somehow connects with God and connects with the plan of God, God said, my plan is through Isaac. The Messiah is going to be, and guess what? Sarah said to Abraham, you have to separate the two. And he wasn't very happy, and what did God say? What Sarah says is not wrong. Do as she says. Can you see? She protected the seed, the lineage. What did Rebekah do? Because Esau already showed in his, and we just read one account. We show, the Bible tells us what was in his nature. His nature was to, he didn't care about the value of certain things. It's about existence. His existence was to go hunt. So, okay, so what is my birthright? It's got no influence on my existence at this moment. So I do not value it, therefore I give it away. And Rebekah is quite surprised, and she looks at this and she says, my son, Esau, don't you understand what the future holds? Don't you understand the life? It's more than just existence. And therefore she sees Jacob. Well, he's not really a guy that's very worried about the existence. And from the Jewish Midrash writings, they say that Jacob was a man of the tent, not meaning that he was a house man. He was a guy that was always busy with the study of God's word, the Torah. So his heart was with the study of the Torah. Now Rebekah sees this. And now Isaac, which you don't read anymore, but he's focused on existence. Because he likes the meat from Esau. Rebekah says, no. There's much more than existence here. There's the seed of God. So she devised a plan, and she becomes the protector of the seed through Jacob. If it was up to Isaac, who would have inherited? Who made a success of God's plan? Rebekah. That's why if I say that the plan of God was actually through Rebekah, not through Isaac, and I mean this, that if Isaac had his way, we would have called it Abraham, Esau, and I don't know who. Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. It would have been Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So she was the protector of the seed. And then the last thing is that she had the absolute mindset between existence versus life. Now we see this in a man's world. You know, there's a song, "This is a man's world." You know that one? Okay. Why do they say that? Because go into the corporate environment to get to the top. What do? You step on others because it's about my existence. And if I allow you in my existence, it means I have to give up some of my space. And I cannot allow to give up some of my space. Therefore, I will do what I need to do to get to the most existence that I can. And if anybody takes some of my existence, some of my space, therefore, you are my enemy. And there is no ways that... So man exists in a world where there's continuous fighting. But here comes Rebekah. Remember, she is life. She is the home. So we see her doing what? Her function of life. That's why we see it written in the Bible, not her busy doing something with the food or kneading dough or something. It's to do with water. She was fetching and carrying water to and from the house. Okay, that's also existence. She has to do that. That's her existence. To give life. That's existence. Now, that life which God has given a woman can become existence and nothing more than existence. Ask a mother with small children. Come on. Ask a mother with small children. Okay? You do not have a life. You have children. Okay. And as they grow bigger, it just becomes much better. You have less of a life. And then their existence becomes your problem as well. And your inherent function is that life needs to exist. Life needs to exist. So you are worried so much about this and about that. And it's worries. Eventually a wife comes that she forgot to fulfill a function as you need to be the life. The man is supposed to be the existence of the household. You need to be the life of the household. But because we are where we are, existence overpowers. So the only way that Rebekah was also caught up in this existence, she had to feed her brothers, she had to feed her mother, she had to work, she was the slave of the house, if you can call it like that. Because a mother is basically a slave. Slave to the children, not to the husbands, but more to the children. Oh, always say, Antoinette, I can't find this. It's right in front of you. It's not right in front of me. I cannot find it. And she'll come and she'll say, here it is. Oh, I didn't see it. That's man, we don't make women slaves. So Rebecca was caught up in this existence, but how does she change her existence into life? Because life asks the questions, how can I change something in my environment? How can I be of help to somebody? How can I be of change? How can I be of life to somebody? That's what Rebecca asked. So she goes with this jug, and she's going to go fetch water. That's her existence. And then somebody asks her, can I have some water? I have an opportunity to make a difference. I have an opportunity to give life. And she takes that and she gives the servant, she gives him water. She says, but how can I make more difference? Can I give your camels water? How many camels? 1. 10. How many camels does how many water does a camel drink? Okay, how much is a lot? Give me an estimation. Okay. It's 135 liters of water for a thirsty camel. So 10 camels, let's imagine they were thirsty. 10 camels is 1,350 liters. Okay? Let's imagine they weren't that thirsty. They'll only drink 700 liters with a jug. Did her existence suddenly change dramatically? Did she mind? Did she mind? Giving up her existence for this life, was it worth it? Yes. And Eliezer looked at this, the servant, he looked at this and he says, wow, I see life. I see somebody that is prepared to give up his existence to bring forth life. That is Rebecca. She valued existence versus life. And she said, well, I can exist while I create life. A man gets married, and what happens? I'm going to change my habits. I'm going to stay at home. No, I'm still going to watch rugby. I'm still going to do this. You know, my wife needs to fit in with me. Amen? Amen? But then you have kids. What does a man do? He gives up his time for the children. No, he carries on with his life. So life carries on, and the wife needs to give up her existence for life. Now this is the problem, is that man carries on with his existence, but where is his life? Well, it's at home. It's right. So the only way that a man can get life back into his existence is to give space to his life. That's why it's sometimes, if I and me and myself, you know, we take up a lot of space. There's not enough space for a wife as well. You know, existence, love, for instance. What is love? Is to give up something of yourself, of your existence. Well, there's enough of me. Now you want to still ask me to give up some of me as well. God says, you know, you cannot love. Now, you know, a lot of people and the counselors would tell you this. You cannot love somebody if you cannot love yourself. Amen. So that's the problem today. That's why people cannot love other people, because they love themselves. And that's good enough. If I love myself, why do I want to love this person? I love me. Now I have to give up some of my love to somebody else. No. And this is why we have the problems in the church everywhere. Is that people do not want to give up their existing space for somebody else. But if you do not do it, you are not going to get life. That's why people are working, they're earning a lot of money, and statistics prove that the highest earners of salaries are the most depressed. Why? They've got a good existence, but they have no life. Existence means that, well, I can earn a lot, but every time I do, I have to adapt the chai of Rebecca. While I am existing, what can I do to make a difference? I asked that to Hubert the other day. I said, Hubert, I want to know from you today. Well, let's ask the gentleman today. Where did you make a difference in somebody's life this week? Because if you didn't, you haven't lived. You've existed for a whole week. And tomorrow, when you wake up, you look back at yesterday and you said, did I make a difference? Meaning, gave up some of my existence for somebody else? Yes or no? No. Then you have existed for another day and have not lived. It's different with a wife, because a wife continuously gives up for her children, for a husband. A husband has to work on it to get life. So we find that Rebecca, if it was thirsty camels, 1,350 liters, how many times do you think a jug, how many can a jug carry? Well, let's imagine it was big jugs, it's 20 liters. It's 20 kilograms. Well, if she wasn't that strong and it was only 5 liters in a jug, how many times that she had to go up and down before she could get? Do you think that she minded this frustration of this existence for what she is accomplishing now? She didn't mind it. When he said to her, will you come with me now back? She could have thought about her existence. And she said, no, there is God ordaining all this. There must be a purpose in this. There must be a purpose for me. I can make a difference. I shall go right now. This is Rebecca. Now imagine over all that dust, do you think she had to go bath and shower before she saw Isaac? Or was she ready to meet Isaac? So while she was traveling on these camels in the dust and having this hard, difficult time, she was thinking about what is lying in front of her, because you could see they were looking. Isaac was looking for the life. Rebecca was looking for the opportunity to give the life. And when she saw, she said, is that? Yes. And she's ready. She just puts over her veil. She's ready. Takes in the tent. She's ready. Whole existence on that camel revolved around, is it time? Can I give life? No, not yet. We are, okay. Is it time? Yes, that's the master. She's ready. She's looking for the opportunity to give life. Isaac is standing there. He's looking for, please, God, send me life. Sometimes God sends you life in your vicinity, but you are just too proud and not too humble to give up your existence, your space, to give life. And that's why men are so miserable. Come on. The only thing that gives them life is temporary. Rugby, pubs, darts, pool. Go look at the things that men do today, where they have to go to find life. Why? Because they do not want to give their life at home. But they don't realize if they give their life at a home, they'll immediately start getting life. They will be fulfilled. Wife, you need to remember that you are life. do not let the existence take away your life. I talk from experience, and I listen to Antoinette with the kids and so on. Now, I can teach them maths, and then they'll get 11 out of 30. Antoinette teaches them maths, and then they get 20 out of 30. Why? Because, while I'm teaching them, I'm thinking about, but I need to do this, and I need to do that, and so on. I'm thinking about my existence. I'm not thinking about giving up this existence of mine. And therefore, I'm not there. I don't inherently, without me even realizing it, I do not give the life. Where with Antoinette, her existence ceases. And for that moment, she gives life. And guess what? Is it because she's a better teacher? No, it's because inherently there is just life. When they break the arm, they run to, Daddy, Daddy, my arm is broken. Why? Because in her is the comforter. The father is, okay, doesn't bleed. No, it's just dripping two drops an hour. It's okay. There can be a small scratch, and the mother would go, and they would be comforted, because it's not about the comfort. It's about my mother gives me life. But now, mothers, daughters become, and sons become big, and they ruin your existence. Don't let them ruin your life. Remember, you've got life. Do not, at some stage, this inherent thing of life will come back to them, and they would need to come back to the point where they departed from and said, I'm sorry, when you are not there, who are they going to come back to? Because they expect you to always stay where you are. That is a difference between a man and a woman, and that's why God has given a woman such a precious commodity, or let's say commodity, a precious DNA called life. Man has to work very hard with this. It's inherently in a woman. Therefore, when you speak about a lot of laws that needs to be implemented in a country, do you speak about problems? Problems being spoken about and laws that needs to be implemented, that's what everything revolves around. Now, the whole Bible speaks about men. It doesn't speak that much about women. So which one gets the hardest work to do? God had to work very harder with men than with women. That's why it's so much written more about men than with women. Because the woman was just there. The daughter of die aangetrouwde dogter, of die skoondogter van Juda, wat is haar naam? Tamar. Was it Tamar? She was the container of the seed. She couldn't understand, and she couldn't let it do that she could not have the children. The law says, if your husband, give me your son, but she says, Judah is not going to fulfill this. She took it into her own hand, and she became the protector of the seed. Why? Because it was not about anything else than the seed. Woman, protect life with life. Husbands, stop existing, start living. Meaning, stop taking up too much space and allow life to enter your world. You can say, because your wife has provided you a good life until she passed away, so it's easy to talk. He had a good life. He had a good wife. But this is God's image in a woman, life. Yeshua comes and he says, I am your existence. What does he say? And the life. Woman, ladies, mothers, single ladies, you are the Chai. So what a existence. You are being placed in a very difficult position. The bigger your kids get, the harder that becomes. But God has specifically given that to you because he knew that you can take it and not a man. Because if we had to take what you had to take, we would last maybe 20 years and then we will fold and we'll just give up. If a man had to do just once a pregnancy, we will not have a huge population because we'll stop after one kid. Because the pain will be unbearable. We'll try adoption. But there won't be kids to adopt because the men didn't want to make kids because it's too sore, it's too painful. You know, now I have to give up my existence, my rugby and all of for the kids. No ways. Therefore God said, I know what's in man. I created him. Therefore I'll take the best, the life in man, I'll take it out of him and I'll give it to Chava, Chet. The tent wall, the separation, the Chai, the life. Mother is the only person that will give a heart freely. And it will be trampled on 1,000,000 times, given back to her, ripped out again, trampled on another 100,000,000 times, and still not expect anything back for that. And eventually when you are 55 years old in front of your mother and you say, I'm so sorry, my son, don't worry. Always loved you. Father cannot do that. It's only for a mother. So let us stand. And to all the women, L'chaim, to life. L'chaim, Shabbat, Shalom. So therefore take your wife close to you. If you don't have one, don't take a man. Stay alone. God does not make mistakes. When he made man, when he made woman, he did not make mistakes. Women, you are, all ladies, you are precious because you are the containers of life. Therefore, we are going to bless each other. I want you to bless each other with these words. For the young couples, young couple, making space for each other, creating life, making space for life. And let us say, may you grow with favor with Yahweh and with man. May you continue to grow in the likeness of Yeshua Messiah. May Yahweh and help you find the knowledge of Him with His Ruach and give you peace. May Yahweh keep the evildoers far from you and lead you into the path of righteousness. In Yeshua's name, amen. This is how you bless the children of Israel. May Yahweh bless you and protect you.
May it be His will.
May Yahweh shine His face to you and be gracious unto you.
Yes, may it be His will.
And may Adonai lift up His face to you and give to you peace.
Yes, may it be.
Varechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha Yaeh Adonai Pavelecha vichuleka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha. Sem lecha, lecha shalom.